what the supermarket stripped was the connection to nature. I won't blame them entirely for it, but we become very disconnected, particularly in the cities. We become very disconnected with nature. That is unhealthy because we are a product of nature, right? We are part of it, and we still need to live within it, right? We're still guided by it. And when we see, the climate events, what happened in LA months ago, demonstrates that nature is far more powerful than we are. So that disconnect is not good. What that's done is it's removed us from the earth, from soil, from product. When you remove yourself from something, you lose appreciation for it, right? You don't understand what's gone into producing a spear of asparagus, right? So again, you look at our habits, consumption of technology, right? We spend far more today on gadgets than we do on food. Our disposable income, the percentage of disposable income that we spend on food in all developed nations has been decreasing since the advent of the supermarkets. Just like nutritional value of our food has also been decreasing. So the reason why we choose to allocate less of our disposable income to food, you might not, you might, like me, probably maybe spend more than average on food. But that's because we're in that population where we're kind of much more in the food industry and we care about it, and we get a lot of joy out of it. Whether we're traveling or whether we're eating at home, you will go and spend good money on a bottle of olive oil. But if you don't see enough value in that bottle of olive oil, you're just not going to go and spend the money on it. So we fundamentally need people to revalue food. And you were touching before we started about kind of some of the farmer stories, right? And the artistry and poetry around it. The reason why that's there, one is because I feel it, but sharing the love of food and getting people to almost have reverence for a beautiful orange or a beautiful peach is to me a way to say, hey, like, you need to rethink this, right? This is a work of art. This is this beautiful product of the interplay between an incredible farmer and nature, right? They're both working together. It's the farmer coaxing nature to work its magic and produce this like beautiful food. You need to revere that. You need to value it. And I think if you've got the flavor component, but also that renewed appreciation for it, you will want to spend more on it, right? It's not purely about a financial thing, but it's you will want to have that in your life, have it be more present, and that will mean that you're going to spend more on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think for me, that's why I love like restaurants. I think it's the greatest art form imaginable when it's done perfectly, because it's like it's the link between the artistry with the soil and the seed and the vegetables, and then it passes on and you get the chef's creativity, and then they essentially get this selection and they create a piece of art and then it makes someone else happy. Like that is just, to me, like utopia. Like that's why I love restaurants. The other side of this, and I think you touched on it on like the flavor note, is like, let's just say there's a single, and I asked this to Henry Dimbleby as well, like say there's a single mother who is literally just trying to put food on the table. And I think what Henry does really well in Ravenous is he says it's like half the issue is not that like mums don't want to or dads cook delicious food for their kids. It's like, so sometimes they won't eat it. Like the kids have become another part of the incentives. Like, unfortunately, chicken nuggets do taste better than broccoli. Like it's just, and that's another issue with this, right? It's probably blasphemous to you, Franco, yeah. but I'm just saying in general. But what's the how do we begin to solve that problem? Because this is so multifaceted. And I think I get it from like we need to get this reverence back for the ingredients, but then it's like I just need to feed my kids. What's your take on that?
It's kind of the question in the food system, right? Is the whole affordability. It's how do we get the people who don't have the luxury of saying I can spend whatever I want to get the best food. I think again, what Henry's doing with Chefs in Schools, which is a program that we support. We work closely with Chefs in Schools and supply a lot of the schools. I think that to me is a critical piece, is what happens in school at an early age.
Yeah.
Because going back to this broccoli and chicken nugget example, you need to break it, right? If you're going to say, listen, the only way that you're going to get a human being to appreciate good food, and by good I mean healthy food, right?
Yeah.
Is you need to start enjoying the broccoli. You need to start enjoying a spring onion, right? Your palate has to be able to appreciate that. So for that, you need to be introduced at an early age. It's not the only way to do it, right? You can be introduced at a later age, but it becomes harder and harder. If we can tackle it at an early age, kids will choose, not always. Like my kids, I always say it, my kids, they're very privileged in kind of living, with Daisy and I because of what I do for work from a food perspective, but they like chicken nuggets and they like Doritos as much as any other kid, right? They like junk food and they're not denied it. But I say this in the book, they will get tired of it. My daughter Clem came back from a school trip, and I was like, I wasn't on that. She's like, yeah, but I was fed up of eating chicken nugget. And it was chicken nuggets. She's like, I was fed up of eating chicken nuggets all the time. So she'll enjoy them, but because she's growing up eating healthy, good, home-cooked food, her body can only take so much junk. So I think really the only way that we're going to solve it is by reintroducing healthy food at an early age. And imagine the transformation that you would have if kids would grow up getting healthy food, at least at school. And that's how also you can tackle it if mothers don't have time at home, they don't have the resources, is you can do it at meal times at school, which is the whole point of Chefs in School.
Yeah, it's a constant tension between bottom up and top down, isn't it? But I think I think as well, it's like kids, if you introduce it at the right age, it's like kids will go out and do sport, like play football, if they're introduced at the right age. Yeah. It's like if you make it fun and if you make it fun and desirable, they'll do it. I think Joe Wicks, do you know Joe Wicks he's like a PT over here. He's done a great thing. His whole thing is getting exercise into school. But it's like start the kids when they're like 4 or 5 and make it fun. And they will pick up that habit, back to habits.
Yeah.
And I think if you can make cooking like going into schools and getting kids to have that reverence for fruit and vegetables is great. But if you can then get, I don't know, who do kids like some sort of celebrity to make it aspirational. I think a lot of these things are aspirational. That's 100% away. And then in terms of the affordability piece, are you basically saying that if the parents can't afford it, then it should be a government funded, or how do we?
Well, I think there's an element where food, so there's a couple of things. I always say one thing, right, that at least in terms of fixing the food system, you have these two extremes, right? You have super wealthy people and you have people that are very unfortunate and, poor. But obviously, if we talk about the extremes, it doesn't really address what we can do en masse. And there are a lot of people in the Western world that sit in the middle, and I'm super generalizing here, right?
Sure.
But there are a lot of people that sit in the middle that go on holiday to expensive locations, that have 3 flat screen TVs in their house, and actually choose to spend their money on things other than high quality food, right? So we don't, the affordability issue doesn't necessarily need to be addressed across all demographics, of course, but there's a lot of change that can happen right in the middle, right? With this readjustment of what we choose to spend our money on. Then when you get to the real affordability question of how do you deal with people that don't have the luxury of choosing, that actually go into a supermarket and need to buy, the cheapest bread that they can find and so forth, I think the way to do that is by starting with the people that can and that big chunk of people in the middle.
Yeah.
We can start producing food in a healthier way that also becomes more affordable. So that's where scale comes in, which maybe we are kind of scale is an obsession we have, which answers that kind of question supermarkets and why they got so big is that if we can start farming at scale, but in a better way, right, in a way that's respectable, responsible, and respects the soil and respects the ecosystem, and that's producing flavor and nutrition rather than just yield and price,
Yeah.
then we can make really good quality produce also more affordable. Because at the moment, the really good quality product is out of reach for a lot of consumers. So I think scale will play a role in making produce more affordable for kids. The thing is that back to the broccoli, if the kids won't eat the broccoli because they prefer the chicken nugget, and the chicken nugget is just as affordable as the broccoli, then you've got to want, that's where my demand thing comes in. You've got consumers to want the broccoli, right? They've got to be asking for it.
That's where you talk about flavor. Like that's the kind of from what I picked up of the book is your kind of the thing that probably is running through this whole conversation, right? From the mangoes in Egypt right at the beginning to all your cooking. How far off is what we're getting in the supermarkets flavor-wise from what it could be? Like, I think that gap, because as you say, like, and I encourage listeners to read the way you talk about this peach. It's kind of, it's mind-bendingly kind of like just wonderful the way you write about a peach. But yeah, how far off are we realistically?
I'd say we're probably at 20% of where we could be on average, 30% in terms of flavor, if you were to, where we are at the supermarket and what the ultimate could be.
Yeah.
Espressos is sponsored by supply chain software gurus Unleashed. It talks to your e-com and accounting software. It's helped Islands cut admin time in half, get granular clarity on your margins, know where your stock is, don't miss availability. Brands like Candy Kittens, Tiny Rebel, and Trip all use Unleashed, and so should you.